Okay, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Richard from the Seneca team, and part of my role is to make sure that schools and teachers get the most out of Seneca, which is what brings me in front of you today. And today we're going to look at parental engagement and how to maximize that opportunity that is available for schools to make sure that parents are as involved as possible in their child's learning. And we're going to specifically look at how to do that using technology. So we're going to look at a few different things, and I imagine there'll be questions that come up as we go through the session. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is on Zoom, you'll see that there is a chat feature. And if you just click on that chat, if you have a question at any time, then feel free to pop the questions in there, and I will happily answer those as I go through. I've got Pat saying that she, okay, yeah, no, that Pat's just message to say that she doesn't have a camera, but that's absolutely fine. We don't need you to turn your cameras on. In fact, most people, you'll only see me during this presentation, just in the corner of your screen. And yeah, we'll go through the presentation together. So, as I was saying, any questions, do feel free to pop them in the chat. And we can go through and I can support you with those questions at the appropriate times throughout the session. So let's get going and just talk about exactly what we're going to talk about in today's sessions. So first thing we're going to talk about is looking at the link between parental engagement and pupil outcomes and what that looks like and what the research shows is effective in terms of developing that link between schools and parents. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a research and development project that we're doing at Seneca in collaboration with Nesta and the Department for Education. And I can tell you a little bit about that and how that's working and what we're hoping to achieve from that. And then I'm going to share some resources with you that will hopefully be really useful in helping you to get the most out of the connection between the school and your parents of your students. So, there is a sort of well thought of research document from the EEF that looked at a review in September 2019, and they looked at basically 4 recommendations that schools should be implementing to basically enhance parental engagement. The really exciting thing about parental engagement is that the research shows that actually increased parental engagement has a positive outcome on students' academic results. And that is regardless of age of student and regardless of their socioeconomic status. So that's really reassuring that actually if we as educators can get the link between schools and parents right and it's effective, then it will have a positive impact on student outcomes. So that's a good starting point to be thinking about this. Now, these 4 recommendations, we're going to run through and give a little explanation of each of them. So you can see how what the EEF showed in this research. So the first one is that schools should critically review the way that they work with parents. Now that might seem like an obvious thing to do, but I think quite often that sort of thing is put to one side when you're working in a school, and it's not necessarily a focus of the work that's going on. And part of this should be that schools should try and be as optimistic as possible, and this applies to teachers as well, as optimistic as possible about the potential of working with parents and the potential outcomes it could bring. I guess it's nice to think about and remember that link between parental outcomes and academic achievement. But unfortunately, at the moment, what the EEF showed is that the evidence of effective strategies is really mixed at the moment. So it's not quite clear exactly how best to do this, just that by doing it, it will be effective. It will sort of have a positive impact on outcomes. Now, schools, as I say, should start critically reviewing their aims and their current approaches by doing a couple of things as a starting point. So first of all is talking to parents who are less involved in the school environment and asking them and working with them to understand what they would find helpful, and also to make sure that they plan and the schools plan and monitor any progress towards any defined aims. So that starts by defining what your aims are in terms of parental engagement and making sure that there is planning around those aims in terms of what actions you're going to take to drive that forward, and then also monitoring it. So one way that we are doing this at the moment at Seneca, when we're thinking, because we're focusing quite a lot at the moment on parental engagement and how we can increase our impact using parental engagement. So one thing that we are looking at doing is basically looking at the data that is on our platform to understand how parents are using our platform to engage with their child's learning or their children's learning. And we're basically understanding if we take, depending on the actions we take, we're looking at the results of that based on the data. And it's a really effective way to do that. And the EEF recommend that that's a good way that schools should be doing things as well. Now, the second recommendation is to make sure that you're providing practical strategies to support learning at home. And this could include things like tips, support, resources that basically can make home activities more effective. So an example that they talked about a lot in the report that they produced was that actually a lot of schools will do things like book gifting to families. And so this would be the schools buying books for families and sending them to them. But what they showed was that alone as an intervention from a school and a use of schools' resources is unlikely to be effective. However, when you link something like book gifting with making sure that the books are really carefully selected for each family or each group of families, and also making sure that you're giving parents advice and support on how to use these with their children, then it had a really positive impact on supporting students' reading. So you see there where you've got an intervention which on the face of it, book gifting sounds like a great thing, but actually it's unlikely to have any impact unless there's the follow-up of the extra support and guidance of parents. The other thing that schools are very good at and are very good at and have the real potential to support parents with is helping parents to set up regular routines and encourage good homeworking habits. So something that you will be doing in your classroom every day is establishing your routines with your students, but that doesn't necessarily translate to home. So things that you can do to make sure that there is effective learning habits going on at home as well as at school, and supporting around that is potentially really beneficial. Now, the only caveat with this is just to be aware that parents probably won't like it if you are promoting sort of direct parental assistance with homework. So if you are telling them exactly what they need to do, people probably won't like it. But if you are giving guidance and support, it's more likely to be more beneficial. Now, the third recommendation was to tailor school communications to make sure you encourage positive dialogue about learning. And communications can be effective for improving attainment and also a range of other outcomes like attendance. And the research backs that up. But the thing is, and this sort of links into sort of the main point that's on the slide, is they must be well designed. And again, I link this back to how we're working at Seneca at the moment, because that's my most relevant example for the moment, is that when we are working with parents or with schools or with students, in fact, we are really careful to make sure our messaging is as good as possible, to make sure that whatever we are hoping the desired outcome to be, that it actually will be that. So when you're thinking about how to plan your communications with parents, just be really careful and really aware of how you design those. So for example, thinking about whether you want to do weekly texts or from a school to the parents or short-termly letters, like thinking about how you want to communicate with the parents is really important. And the impacts of this communication might seem quite small, but the thing about it is actually they're very low cost and also very straightforward to introduce. So it's a really easy way, sort of a sort of low cost and potentially high impact way of working with parents. Now, the messages are more likely to be to be effective if they are personalized, if they're linked to learning, and if they promote positive interactions. So for example, if you are celebrating the successes of what's going on in school, it's a positive that's more likely to be effective. So if you again imagine your some of the parents at your school, some of them may only ever hear negative phone calls from teachers and things like that. Make sure that you're breaking that cycle, or you're doing something actively to try and break that cycle of negative communication, and make sure that it's personalized and linked to learning as well. Now, the EEF also says that communication should be two-way, and you should be consulting with parents about how they can be involved and how they would like to be involved. And also, it's likely to be valuable and increase the effectiveness of the home-school relationship if it's a two-way process for them. So if you're learning from them and they're learning from you, it's more likely to be effective. And the research showed that when they surveyed parents across the country, only about half of parents said that they felt like that they were involved in how they were communicated with. So there's obviously room across the country to improve that. Now, the final suggestion from the EEF report was that that schools should be offering more sustained and intensive support where it's needed. So that starts by assessing the needs and talking to parents about what would help them to support their learning. And this links to an earlier point about working with the parents as well. And your targeting is likely to be needed in order to make sure the resources are effectively distributed across the parents of your students, and to make sure that you're not widening any gaps in terms of academic attainment. Now, it's also just on this point, when you're talking about giving targeted support, it's really important not to stigmatize or blame or discourage any parents, and just communicate it very carefully with them. Because obviously, if you're doing any of those things that can be seen negatively, it's more likely to have a negative impact overall on the outcome of the communication in the long term. But the focus instead of any of those things should be focused on building parents' effectiveness in dealing with exactly what you're trying to do. All you're trying to do is improve students' outcomes, and actually the parents are also just trying to improve their child's outcomes as well. So think of yourselves as equal partners in that, in terms of how you work with the parents. You are both equal partners and looking to do the same thing. So one way you could do that is to make sure you're encouraging a consistent approach to behaviour between school and at home. And that could be by, for example, sharing the expectations that you have of your pupils in school, to make sure that those can be reiterated at home as well. And that could be around a whole host of things, not just behaviour expectations, but homework expectations, quality of how they're presenting their work, all this sort of stuff. You can share with parents to make sure that they are aware and are part of that process in trying to achieve the best outcomes for their children as possible. So those are the 4 strategies that the EEF sort of mention in terms of how to work with parents and basically boost their engagement in their children's learning. And these are things schools should be doing, or the EEF say schools should be doing, based on the research they completed in September last year. So I'll move on from the review now and look at the Seneca Research and Development project that we're doing at the moment. And it's something we're very excited about because it's a very new project that we're working on. And it's something that we're working with Nesta and the Department for Education, and also Impact Ed as well, are evaluating the research. What it basically is we are providing, or the DFE are providing, grant funding for schools to help be part of this research project. And it's looking at basically how education technologies, things like Seneca, can be used most effectively to engage parents of students with receiving free school meals. So there's lots of exciting things that we'll be looking at, but Impact Ed will be working with you to basically understand the challenges that the families of your students are facing, and we'll translate that back to us, and we'll try and basically work with the school and work with the parents to develop the way we work with parents to make sure that it's as effective as possible. Now, there are some criteria for schools that can or cannot apply for this research grant. So if you're interested, just double check on the Nesta website. It links out all the different criteria that is needed. But the sort of headline one that would probably affect most people is that the school needs to be good or outstanding in its last Ofsted inspection to be part of the research. And if you want to apply, you can just apply there. But do just bear in mind, I've just put a link in the chat there if anyone wants to apply or take a closer look. But do bear in mind that you'll need SLT approval to go ahead and start to be part of the research project. Now, in terms of what Seneca does currently, you may or may not know that we have a parent platform that parents can sign up to for free, and they can access their child's learning and see exactly what their child's been up to, and see lots of data, as you can see just here. So you can see here, you can see things like, or parents can see things like learning time, average scores, the number of sessions they've completed, and also the number of correct answers. And what that allows parents to do at the moment is very much be part of the learning process, and this happens all automatically as well. So it's not anything you as teachers need to sort of submit or upload. It just parents can log on and see this information straight away. And it allows them to be part of the process and help with communication about what's going on in school when they're talking about it at home, as that's quite often quite a challenge for parents to know what to talk to their kids about when it comes to schooling. And it also allows them to segment the data to see where there are potential issues and help their child appropriately. So at the moment, we see this very much as a really useful tool, but quite basic in terms of what we provide for parents. And actually there's a huge scope for extra things we can do, which is part of the research and development project we're doing with Nesta. We're looking at how we can develop this better. So Danielle says, how do parents sign up so they can see their child's progress? So all they need to do, Danielle, anyone else who's wondering that, is they just need to go to our website and they can just sign up for an account for free. So just go to senecalearning.com. What I'll do in a moment is I'll show you some resources that help with communicating this to parents so that they can see they can see exactly what their child's been up to. So these are the resources we can provide at the moment. And if you've got any other ideas of other resources that we can offer, then I'd be really, really pleased to hear about them from you. If you just pop them in the chat, that'd be really good. But what I'll do is I'll just stop sharing my screen for a moment. And if I just show you one by one exactly what they are, then we can go from there. So the first one is a an SMS template. So this is for you as a school. If you want to send out text messages, we've written a very short within the character limit message for you to just copy and paste into whatever service you use to send out text messages, and that just links straight to where parents need to sign up, and they can then go ahead and do that straight away. So that's potentially a really useful thing for parents. The other one that's slightly linked to that but it's a slightly longer format, is our we've got a letter template or an email that you can also send out as well. And when you first click on the link that I'm going to send you in a second, the first thing it asks you to do is make a copy, and you'll just need to be signed into a Google account to do this. But as soon as you have this this text already written for you, and you can use this to send out any emails or letters to parents if that's more appropriate for your context. And the third area I've mentioned, it's actually bullet point 2 on my slides, but we have some printable cards that you can print out and give to the parents of your students. And these just, again, give you step by step what parents need to do to get signed up and to get connected to their child. And we've also seen schools copy and put a little screenshot of this and put it onto their school's website. So again, that's potentially a really valuable thing to do in terms of helping parents to get the most out of what we offer, and making them aware, basically, because that's part of the problem, is that parents don't know or understand what Seneca is fully, and they don't know how they can be involved to help. Now, the next one is a how-to video. So again, this is just a link in our help pages, but this basically helps the parents of your students to understand how to get going. So it's just a 2-minute video of how they can get started. And if they follow that video, they'll get set up nice and quickly. And then the final way is a webinar just like this one, but it's aimed at parents and getting them to understand what our parent platform is for, how it works, how to get them set up, and things like that. And again, they can sign up for a webinar just like you did on Eventbrite, and they can join one of our sessions that's coming up soon. So there's 5 different resources there that are available for you and ready to use. If you would like them, I'm popping all the links in the chat now, but I will also send them to you via email after this call, after this webinar as well, so you can have them for your reference. But there's a really potential, really easy wins there in terms of, using these templates or these resources to share a parental engagement tool with the parents of your students. And as I say, it's free to sign up, it's free to use, and it gets them some useful data, and it's going to improve a lot over the research and development project that we're working with Nesta and the DFE to produce. So that's basically all I wanted to share with you in this session. If you have any questions and haven't had a chance to ask them, like Danielle has already, then please do pop them in the chat now, and I'll just wait for any of those to come through. If there are also any other resources that you would think would be useful for people to have, in terms of ways that we can help you to communicate with parents, then that would be great as well. It'd be great to know if you've got any ideas around that. Okay, well, it looks like there's no questions, which is great. So if you obviously do have any other questions, just feel free to get in touch with us through the live chat on our website, or send me an email. If you want to apply for the Nesta grant, then you can fill in the application form that I've just posted in the chat. And also, reminder that I will email you the links to the different resources we provide after this session. So thank you very much for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And good luck with all the parental engagement that's moving forward. Thanks very much.